Oh, it is. It is Thursday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am Alex Donno, going to talk a lot of Miami Dolphins today. I don't really want to talk a whole lot of Miami Heat after the way that the final 5 minutes transpired last night in Milwaukee. I hope you don't blame me for not wanting to talk about the lack of execution, the poor inbound passing, and pissing away a lead like you pissed away in Milwaukee yesterday. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, regular season, not that big of a deal. And I feel pretty confident that if the Heat had had Kyle Lowry to handle the basketball in the late minutes, they wouldn't have blown that lead the way that they did. So it's not a tragedy, but it felt like a tragedy in the moment yesterday. And I got to tell you, the real heroes are the 5 Reasons Sports postgame crew who had to go on YouTube right after that game went final and talk about it and I didn't watch it because I didn't want to relive the pain. I'm not saying you shouldn't watch our postgame shows. You absolutely should. I'm just saying in that moment, I just chose to drink myself into a stupor and go to bed. But they are the real heroes for talking about that debacle afterwards because that wasn't fun. That was not fun whatsoever. Last night was brutal. You're right, said VLKV. And again, it's not really what I'm here to talk about. There's a lot of Miami Dolphins stuff to get to. The NFL scouting combine is happening. We're going to get a Kenny Pickett throwing session tonight. Kenny Pickett in his tiny hands. Apparently he's got small hands, 8.5 inches, I think is what they said. Probably still bigger than mine, but you know what they say about guys with small hands. But I'm just impressed that, quarterback one for this upcoming draft is actually going to throw. That doesn't always happen. And I was talking earlier, I was on the Dolphins ATB show live less than an hour ago with our pal Hussam Patel, who is also from the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and he is going to join us in about 12 minutes. And I said it then, and I'll double down on it. Yeah, I've watched a lot of NFL scouting combine coverage the last couple of days, even before the workouts have even started. And you have coaches and executives from around the NFL making the media rounds, doing interviews, doing press conferences, getting to know the media, hobnobbing, shaking hands, kissing babies. And Mike McDaniel has been incredibly entertaining. He's been more entertaining than any of the other coaches and executives that I've seen speak. That's not a huge surprise because even before he was hired as the Dolphins head coach, we had those video clips going around of him talking to the media in San Francisco. It's like, okay, this guy likes to mess with the media a little bit. He's got that quirky personality. He likes to be sarcastic and joke around. We're seeing that personality fully on display, and I really, really like it. So we're getting a nice contingent going in the chat. Hello to Indade, to Samuel, Shake Money, Hussam Patel. Yeah, I was just, by the way, I looked like such a slob when I was on Dolphins ATB with Hussam a few minutes ago. Like I was wearing, I think, the clothes that I slept in last night. And I've been up since like 6:30. I hadn't bothered to change yet. I was wearing a Star Wars t-shirt. So I told Hussam, I'm like, I've got to shower. I've got to freshen up a little bit. And yeah, Hussam's going to be joining us in about 10 minutes. So thank you to everybody who's in the chat. I see Q is in, VLKV is in, Chris, the Finns Tailgate, Jim McEwen is in. Guys, do us a solid. You're in here right now and you haven't already. Smash the like button. Smash the like button. And if you haven't done it, make sure you subscribe to the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And it doesn't even matter if you're not watching us live. If you watch this later on via replay, you can still smash the like button. It still counts. It helps us out. It helps grow the show. It helps grow the channel because the more likes we get, the more people's timelines we show up in. That's just how the algorithm works, man. Star Wars. This is a Star Wars episode. Finally. Well, I know our friend David. I haven't seen David in the chat yet, but he wanted me to talk about the new Star Wars hotel at Disney World that just opened up. I mean, I'd kind of like to. I know that it's getting critiqued by people. I'd like to stay there. It's so expensive. Like to take a family there, and it's 2 nights you get there. It's like $6,000. Like $6,000, 3 or 4 people. Family of I've got a family of 3 personally, but like a family of 4 or a family of 3 to spend 2 nights there, it's $6,000. Like, I'm sorry, man. There's better way. I'll buy more Bitcoin before I'm gonna go. Before I'm gonna go on the Galactic Star Cruiser for that amount of time. So something, I mentioned how entertained I've been by Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel, but it was something yesterday that the Dolphins general manager, Chris Grier, said that's been making a lot of headlines. And I think and I hope it's providing Dolphin fans with some closure. Okay. Because no matter what side you've been on of the Deshaun Watson saga, whether you are pro Watson or anti Watson slash pro Tua, this has been hanging over our heads for more than a year, right? I mean, even before the allegations and the lawsuits came up, going back to before the Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl of a couple weeks ago, the Super Bowl of a year ago, we were talking about the possibility of Deshaun Watson to the Miami Dolphins replacing Tua, and the Dolphins had let that hang around, right? I know that it's been shot down recently by a lot of reporting and a lot of secondhand and third-hand information, but never up until yesterday did you have anyone with real authority within the Miami Dolphins organization officially come out and absolutely shut down and obliterate the Deshaun Watson stuff. And yesterday, the quote from Chris Grier was, "The door is shut on Deshaun." The door is shut on Deshaun. Now, I already got, even before the show started, we got the comment from our guy, Brooklyn Rob. He says, Mike Florio from ProFootballTalk.com will never let this die. He will triple down. He's already doing that, I think, Rob, because I was reading a story on Pro Football Talk this morning, and Florio said something like, okay, so Chris Grier said the door is shut on Deshaun. If he's telling the truth, is what Florio put in the story. If he's telling the truth, that means they're all in, committed to Tua Tagovailoa. So already you have Mike Florio even questioning whether or not Chris Grier is telling the truth. So, and I'm going to give you my observations on this, and then we're going to move on to some combine stuff, and we're going to move on to some other sort of ideas about how Mike McDaniel can revolutionize this Dolphins team. Now, so Chris Grier saying yesterday that the door is now shut, it would imply, and I think we know this by now, unless you're in complete denial, it would imply that the door was open at some point. And I firmly believe the door was open probably up until the November 2nd trade deadline last year for Deshaun Watson. But I do believe, and guys, you obviously, some of you still make fun of me for this to this day, even though I think it has been proven that the Dolphins were at least interested and they were kicking the tires on it. But yeah, I was pretty convinced through late October that I thought Deshaun Watson was going to be a Dolphin last year by the deadline. Oh God, I think there it goes. He turned it off. Hey, I don't know if you could hear the honking outside. My son likes to play with my car keys, and I think he hit the panic button. I could hear like that sounds like my horn, and it's coming from right outside my window. But no, I did believe up until a certain point last fall that Deshaun Watson could very well end up being a Miami Dolphin. However, since the trade deadline shut, I have been of the belief, and Chris Grier just confirmed it yesterday, that the door is in fact now shut on Deshaun Watson. And in the spirit of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I believe Miami changed their tune on Watson and why they are completely now out of the Deshaun Watson business. And okay, I get it. For right now, they're focusing on Tua Tagovailoa, and you could say he deserves that. I mean, I'm not a huge buyer and backer of Tua, but I do think that Tua's tenure so far as a Dolphin has contained a lot of unnecessary distractions, and he does deserve the opportunity of a front office and a coaching staff who fully believes in him and is going to give him the best opportunity to succeed. So, the 5 reasons why I believe Miami changed their tune on Deshaun Watson and why I think it's good that they're now shutting the door on this. Number one, so the Dolphins, they had to do, before the trade deadline last year, they had to do a ton of due diligence on Deshaun Watson's legal situation, right? Interviews with people, private investigations. I know Stephen Ross did try to have a phone call with Watson that never actually took place. That was going to be part of that. And I think that they realized that they weren't just going to get settlements and closure to magically appear out of thin air by the trade deadline last year. And I think in that process, they realized the rabbit hole with his legal trouble goes a lot farther down than they thought it did. That, oh my, we can't just get this guy to conjure up 22 settlements overnight. Maybe there was a belief that that was possible. It's clearly not possible. Deshaun Watson couldn't just wave a magic wand of cash and make 22 accusations go away, that this is going to drag on for a long time, right? I mean, some of you thought maybe this could be sorted out by this past fall. I think it may not be sorted out until like this time a year from now. Like I'm telling you. Now, number two, this is worth noting, and I've had a lot of conversations about this with various people, including our friend Alfredo Arteaga, who joins us on Mondays. You know, when there was a dialogue between the Dolphins and the Houston Texans, because there was some dialogue prior to the deadline. The Dolphins had a difficult time negotiating an asking price with Texans general manager Nick Caserio. So not only did Caserio never lower his demands for Watson, like it was what, 2 first-round picks, or 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a third, like really, really ridiculous assets. Or I think what my source had told me was, if I'm remembering it correctly, 2 first-round picks, 1 second-round pick, 2 third-round picks. So, you know, those are very, very hefty demands for a guy that was in his situation. And Caserio never lowered those demands despite so many lawsuits and a handful of criminal complaints. And Caserio, from what I understand, this is the Texans GM we're talking about, would sometimes move the goalposts during negotiations, which, you know, gave the Dolphins the impression that he didn't really want to make a deal, that he was like trying to stall. Maybe he was stalling to create a bidding war with other teams, or maybe Caserio, who had just been hired there, thought, you know what? My first order of fucking business, I don't want it to be to trade away our most talented players. So maybe he was trying to hold on, you know, without having to do that. So, you know, if the Dolphins thought, and they probably did think at some point, they could get a discount for Deshaun Watson, that simply wasn't the case. So that's another one of the reasons they're moving on. Number three, I don't think Chris Grier wants to go down this road again where he distracts his entire team for a deal that may or may not get done, right? And yeah, you can blame Flores for a lot of those distractions last year for a number of different reasons, but you know, Chris Grier being the general manager, the guy who has say, I'm not going to say final say, because I think for a deal that big, the owner had final say. But Chris Grier, like, you were allowing a distraction, a black cloud to hang over your entire team. Now, did the Watson cloud, did it affect Tua's play? Maybe. Did it affect the play of the entire team? Maybe. It certainly didn't make things easier for Dolphins players to have to read those headlines and answer questions about it every single day. Number four, this one's obvious. Brian Flores is out. Mike McDaniel is in. Now, I don't think Flores was the only person who was interested in Deshaun Watson last year, but I do think he was Deshaun's biggest advocate in Miami. So now that you have a new coach like Mike McDaniel, who's got an open mind and a willingness to work with Tua for at least one season, and, you know, for what it's worth, the type of offense that Mike McDaniel runs, I think could fit Tua great. Like, honestly, even a Tua doubter like me thinks this might be the head coach who can institute a system to get the most out of this quarterback. Now, number five, you know, the fifth and, in my words, final reason why the Dolphins moved on from the Deshaun Watson idea, and why I think they were right to move on from the idea. This is just me spitballing here, but the Dolphins may have come to realize, and I would pat them on the back for this, that acquiring Deshaun Watson would be even more toxic from a PR standpoint than they thought it would be, right? Getting so close to acquiring him, according to reports, seeing the way a lot of Dolphins fans and a lot of people in the NFL community as a whole kind of reacted to the idea of a guy who's got 22 sexual assault allegations and pending criminal complaints. It might have made the Dolphins realize, you know what, the juice here may not be worth the squeeze, at least not under the current circumstances. And I don't see the circumstances changing anytime soon here. So in summary, I'm not saying the Dolphins are truly 100% bought in on Tua Tagovailoa being a franchise quarterback, but if and when the time comes to replace him, it won't be Deshaun Watson replacing him. So if Tua is not convincing this coming season, and they're going to try to give him every possible factor to make him convincing this year. You've got a head coach who believes in him and can actually potentially formulate an offense to maximize his skills. You're going to address areas that can make Tua better. I think they address wide receiver. They certainly address the offensive line. They certainly address the running back room. And hopefully the defense is as good as it was the second half of last year, that if Tua still can't thrive in that sort of a situation, then when it does come time to move on from him, you're going to move on from him potentially next year, not with Deshaun Watson, but in the draft with a quarterback class that looks pretty freaking loaded next year compared to what it is this year. Now, one of the reasons why I say that, even though I think it was right and logical for the Dolphins to finally officially shut the door on the Deshaun Watson thing, you still can't tell me this front office is 1,000% bought in. So Chris Grier was asked yesterday about Tua. He was asked if Tua has a chance to become elite, and he said, "I can't say he can't be." That's like last year when they asked Tua if he felt wanted. I don't feel not wanted. Can Tua be elite? I can't say he can't be. Now, there was a little bit more to it than that. But Grier said, Mike, talking about McDaniel, Mike and his staff have come in to do a lot of work, studied a lot of Tua, and they feel good about his developmental upside, what he can be, and then the fit in the offense, Grier said. And then, quote, "I think we're good with Tua," he said. So there you have it. Can we now erase every doubt? Oh, by the way, I love this from Chalk Van Straw. Grier trolling. Can Tua be elite? I can't say he can't be. That was like when Bill Clinton back in the day was skirting around the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. Like, what it depends on what your definition of is. So it reminds you a little bit of that. But no, listen, bros, I've got an open mind. I'm kicking my feet up, and I've said it before. I'll say it again. I know that I take some flack on Twitter because people think that I'm like some evil, some evil schemer behind the scenes. Like I'm like one of these Russian hackers who's trying to like bring down democracy. People think that I am like some kind of a cyber troll who has this master plan to debunk and bring down unfairly Tua Tagovailoa. I don't have an agenda. I troll sometimes just for the sake of trolling. I do believe that there is a faction of the Dolphins fan base that legitimately are so miserable and so spiteful that they are actually not me. But I think that there are people out there who are legitimately rooting for Tua to fail just because they haven't wanted him and they want to be right. I'm not one of those people. If Tua Tagovailoa ends up winning Super Bowls here, even if that means I'm going to get some people screenshotting some of my own tweets and like sending them to Old Takes Exposed and like outing me publicly, and I have to feel a little bit of humiliation for that, I don't care because I'm a Dolphins fan first and foremost, right? I am a Dolphins fan. I am rooting for Tua. Me not believing he's great doesn't mean I don't want him to be great. Can we separate those two things? Like, I would love to see him defy my expectations, defy the odds, and become an amazing quarterback. And listen, personally, I do not think Tua Tagovailoa will ever be elite by NFL standards. But the question is, does he have to be? Tua Tagovailoa might be enough. I said this to Hussam, who I'm going to pop in just a second earlier. Tua Tagovailoa might be enough. Does he have to be elite? Now, that's still not going to justify taking him 5th overall a couple of years ago, but Exhibit A, Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo in the offense that the Dolphins are about to employ was literally a couple of plays away from winning a Super Bowl a few years ago. Jimmy Garoppolo. So if Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier, if we trust him to make picks and sign the right free agents and all that, if they can build this entire team right, and Tua Tagovailoa can become even just a slightly better version of what Jimmy Garoppolo is and was, and I think Tua can be that might be all it takes to get this franchise over the hump. So maybe my guy Gianmarco says Tua won't even be Alex Smith. But seriously, I want to change the narrative. I want to change the question. Instead of asking Chris Grier, can Tua be elite? Ask him, does Tua need to be elite? Because maybe he doesn't. I know quarterback is the most important position in the National Football League, but even if I don't think Tua can be elite, I think Tua can be pretty good. Pretty good. And with the right offense and a little bit of luck along the way, yeah, maybe we can win important things here in Miami. Bring in our guy, Hussam Patel. So, I mean, Hussam, did I handle that okay? Do I sound like an all-out hater? Because, again, I want people to remember, just because I don't fully believe in the guy doesn't mean I'm not rooting for him.
I'm guessing you might have changed up your stances a little bit from in-season to the off-season now. Or did Tua not have a little bit of an effect on you already?
Tua works in mysterious ways. Tua, it's one of those things where they get into your organs and they rewrite your DNA, and you don't really realize it's happening until they've got you. Like, all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, man, the other day I thought Tua kind of sucked, and now it's like Tua has rewritten my genetic code, and I think this guy's awesome. And let me say, Hussam, let me say something to you that I said. I was on your show about an hour ago at Dolphins ATB. Here's one of the things that annoys me a little bit, okay? Why does Tua exist and there's not a Waddle non? Like, well, why can't we make a non for like somebody who's actually proven to be someone who excels at their position? Because listen,
you want a Jesse Davis anon?
No, I don't. I want a Jesse Davis off, not on. No, I do not want to. But I'm just saying, like one of the things that drives me crazy is the obsession with a player who really hasn't done anything at the NFL level. Like I don't understand why there are so many people whose Twitter avatars are pictures of Tua and like devote their lives to Tua Tagovailoa, when so far he's just been an average to slightly above average quarterback.
Here's
why? But hold on, but answer this question: why is there a Tua and there's not a Waddle non? Like, I can get behind Waddle non. Like, if people want to build this obsession for Jalen Waddle, devote Twitter again, and he has fans. Don't get me wrong. But why is there not a Waddle? Why is there not an Xavier Howard X non? Like, why is there not a Holland non? Like Javon? Like, these are players who deserve a non. I don't think Tua deserves a non.
Oh, dude, we gotta clip this segment and put it on to the 5 Reasons chat and actually at Tua non, just so you can see. Maybe I think we should create our own Waddle anon or Holland anon or Jalen Phillips anon. It's stan culture, basically. It's the era of social media. You have LeBron stans, right? You have James Harden stans in the NBA. I'm pretty sure MLB, even though baseball is not really a real sport, sorry to say,
they're not even playing.
Has stans. Exactly. It's social media and stan culture. Like, think about K-pop, man. Like, how K-pop stan culture originated and then really leaked into basically sports now. I mean, K-pop stans got somebody into the All-Star game. I forgot who it was, but it was a player that they had voted on because the guy just liked K-pop, and he got voted into the All-Star game. He made
it. I did not know that. Are you into K-pop?
No.
I'm not either. My wife is kind of into it. Like, she's heard.
Now the K-pop fans are going to be railing against this show now. We got to be really.
I didn't criticize it though. I'm just saying, like, I'm not really into it. I don't know a whole lot about it. But what is that? Well, what is the BTS? Is that K-pop? That one group that's like really really big?
Yeah.
I like them. I'm into it. I don't want K-pop to be angry at me. I've already got Tua angry at me. I don't need to get K-pop angry at me as well. What are you looking forward to from a Dolphins perspective? What are you looking forward to? Who are you looking forward to watching most in the combine? Let me actually start here, because I know you and I don't think we've talked about this like actual speaking wise, but I've seen your tweets, and it seems like you feel the same way about Isaiah Spiller that I do. And this is a guy you could get on day 2. And I think as a running back out of Texas A&M, I think he'd be perfect.
Right. I do think he's a systematic and scheme fit. And if you look into our chat, I gave you basically the rundown of my receivers, running backs, and tight ends I'm basically looking at. And I really have Isaiah Spiller as running back 1, and a lot of people are saying, oh, it should be Kenneth Walker because he fits that wide zone system. But for a running back, especially in Mike McDaniel's system, not only does he have to be good at running the ball, he's got to be good at catching the ball. He's got to be decent at pass blocking and protecting the quarterback. Now, a lot of the running backs in this class can't pass block much because the college game is so vastly different from the NFL, but Spiller is a very physical type of running back. He's a naturally instinctive runner. He's got soft hands, very rarely drops a pass. He's very difficult to bring down on one-on-one space. He's a north, south, and east to west guy as well. Again, he needs to improve his pass protection skills, but you need a workhorse type of running back for this offense to really get going, and especially in a RPO play action pass type of system, which McDaniel has run with Shanahan. You need somebody who will take the brunt off of Tua. And in the last podcast, you and I were on, Alan talked about the threat of the running game. Defenses last season always knew to attack the offensive line because there really was no run game. And if you go ahead, put the screen share of the tweet I sent you over there, I have my list of running backs that fit the Dolphins in each order.
Yeah, if you give me a minute, I can get that.
It's basically Isaiah Spiller as number 1, Kenneth Walker as number 2. I have Breece Hall as number 3. People expected Breece Hall to be the number 1 running back coming in, and they had him pegged as the number 1 running back before the season even started. Not a lot of people are talking about Notre Dame running back Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams, he's from Notre Dame. He's the 4th one on my list, and he's 5'9". Okay, he doesn't have that prototypical running back size, that 5'10", 5'11", 6-foot thing. He's a little bit undersized, 5'9", almost 200 pounds, but he's fast. He's got a 4.44 unconfirmed 40 time, excels in short yardage situations. He's got that burst, lateral quickness. He's good inside and outside. He's a slippery runner. Really, really good vision, which will help out if you don't have the best offensive line. He's a balanced runner. He's a check down safety valve that helps out in the passing game as well. And compared to the other running backs in this class, he can pass block.
Yeah.
He can pass block really, really well. And just a little bit of sourcing on my end. Don't be shocked if Miami picks Brian Robinson Jr. from Alabama within the 2nd or 3rd round of the NFL.
I like it. I dig it.
They really like him. Now, he's not a blue chip running back kind of guy, but he's very balanced in all areas of the game. And 2nd round is really where I would try to pick him just because of positional value. But if that's their guy, that's their guy.
By the way, do you agree with John Marco? And he said I did see his mock draft. Well, what do you think about the draft playing out that way? And thank you so much, John Marco, for the super chat.
I like Isaiah Spiller. Chad Muma in the 2nd round is a bit too rich for positional value. I'm not the biggest Muma guy. I'm more so along the lines of Troy Anderson because I do think that Miami has coverage guys and they just need a thumper in the running game. They can get somebody like Troy Anderson from Montana State. And another guy who's also in that thread, Donno, is Damone Clark. And right here, Ben Fennell has an excellent video just demonstrating what he does. Damone Clark from LSU. I do think he could potentially be a 3rd or 4th round guy, and nobody's really talking about him. The Dolphins need a middle linebacker, a true middle linebacker. And, the linebacker game has changed. They're essentially basically secondary pass rushers and at times, help out in the run game. But Damone Clark is a guy, he's basically a quarterback of the defense. And that's exactly what a middle linebacker should be, pointing out formations, alignment, getting others aligned and anticipating action. He's very, very aware of his situation, what he's surrounded by, and knows the calls he has to make it. And that's something which you don't really see on the stat sheet, but you see it on film. And that's the thing, Donna, when people are making mock drafts or looking at prospects, they don't have access to the film. They don't have access to the game tape. So they go based on stats and judge it by that.
By the way, everyone, if you're in here, whether you're watching us live or you watch us later on via replay, do us a solid, just like it says at the bottom of the screen. Smash the like button, hit that like button, and make sure you subscribe to our channel, 5 Reasons Sports. Now, outside of the draft, a running back who could very well be on the trading block is Saquon Barkley of the Giants. Differing reports on what it would cost to get him, Hussam. I've got a ton of reservations on Barkley. And these stats were put out there by our colleague Juan Cardona from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. His first 2 years in the league, 478 carries, 2,310 rushing yards, 17 rushing touchdowns, 143 catches, 1,159 receiving yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. That was the first 2 years. The last 2 years where he's been injured, 181 carries for 627 rushing yards in 2 years, 2 rushing touchdowns, 47 catches, 323 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. And over the past 3 years now, Barkley has suffered a serious low ankle injury, a high ankle sprain, along with a torn ACL and torn MCL. So this is obviously a player, when healthy, that can be elite and explosive. But not to mention giving up an asset, even if that would be a mid-round pick you're giving up, because I've heard some people throw out a 4th or 5th rounder. You've also got to pay his salary, right? And I think he's making $7.21 million next season. It is the final year of his contract, so it might only even be a 1-year rental. Anything there? Your thoughts on Saquon Barkley?
Look, I like Saquon Barkley, and I do think if Miami wants to take a chance on Saquon Barkley, go ahead and do it. Now, I have been told by my Giants source that people are saying that it's a fourth round pick that Giants want. It's total baloney. All right. Joe Shane wants at least a first-round pick or a second rounder and a 5th rounder. The thing is, though, I don't think teams will give that to Joe Shane, what he's asking for. He's sending it high so he doesn't have to trade him. Kind of like goes back to your point you made a bit earlier on where Caserio was bumping up the offer so that way he doesn't have to trade Deshaun Watson. Now, look, I really wouldn't mind Saquon Barkley in this Dolphins offense. And I've had discussions with Juan within our internal chat. And as you pointed out, all you did was list off the stats Saquon had. Talked about it in the draft process as well. People are just looking at stats.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the film. When healthy, yeah, he's great. But look at the film the last 2 seasons and the offensive line and the quarterback he played with the Giants. There was no support for the offensive line. The Giants had, the 27th or 28th ranked offensive line the last 2 years? Any running back, hell, if Saquon was with the Dolphins last year, he wouldn't be that 1,000-yard rusher because it wouldn't happen. You need an offensive line to work well, and not to mention there's players clamoring for NFL teams and the grounds to be changed from turf to actual grass because when Saquon's gotten hurt, it's because of the turf that he's played on, especially at Meadowlands. The Jets have had the same issues, and other teams have had same issues at the Meadowlands Stadium as well because of the turf. So not necessarily that, he's got that injury history, but you start to take a deep dive into why he's been hurt. You look at the reasoning why behind it. It's not because, he's injury prone, his body is deteriorating, his muscles are not good, his knee's not good. It's because of the turf. Now, Juan says, I want to give up an asset for a first rounder or whatever. Look at the tape, dude. If you give out even a 4th rounder from what people are reporting, or even a 5th rounder, or maybe even a potentially 2nd rounder, you're not going to get a guy of Saquon's caliber. Look, he was the number 2 overall pick. Now, look, you trade for him. He doesn't work out. It's $7 million. You want to talk about cap? Miami, the Dolphins have the most cap space in the NFL.
$60.2 million.
They can afford to burn it, even if it's a 1-year rental. And if he does good, you can sign him to an extended contract. You have the money. You have a premier running back that can help out your quarterback. If you're investing in your offensive line, if you add veterans, if you add, a good offensive lineman through the draft and it works out, great. Like, you're set on offense. You're set for your offensive cornerstone pieces. I get there's two arguments on both sides, but you have to look at the pros and cons of each.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I want to go through your wide receivers real quick here and tell me, why do you have my man crush Jahan Dotson that low on the list? He doesn't look like you were a believer.
A lot of people are crushing over Jahan Dotson, and I'm sorry to spoil on your parade. I don't think he's wide receiver one worthy compared to Drake London and Jameson Williams and Treylon Burks. And I'll give you the rundown on Jahan Dotson here with my notes. He came in at 5'10 and a half, came in under 180. Devonta Smith weighed more than that. And people were clamoring against Devonta Smith.
Now you're speaking my language, because I was a little bit anti Devonta Smith for that reason. So now you're speaking to me in terms I can compute.
Yeah. Look, I'm not crushing on this kid. I'm not dunking on. He's a good wide receiver. I'll tell you that. But along the ranks of the people I have over him, those people are much, much better than Jahan Dotson. Look, he makes difficult catches look really easy. He's got good hands. He lacks the size, similar body type to Antonio Brown, but doesn't play like Antonio Brown. Now, defenders are going to knock him off his route because of his slight frame. And yes, he played in the Big Ten, but the only really good defense at the Big Ten, it's Ohio State and Michigan. All right, that's it. You can talk about the level of competition, sure. But in the NFL, the level of competition is super, super high. You have to perform. Now, he doesn't always use his hands to secure those deep throws, but a lot of the receivers in this class are a little bit rusty when it comes to making deep catches. With Dotson, I don't see him as wide receiver one, but as a potential wide receiver two, or if he's put in the right system, he'll do well. But along the likes of Treylon Burks, Jameson Williams, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave, they're miles better than Jahan Dotson.
Now, I'm just trying to do some simple math here, because in your main list there, you've got 7 names on it at wide receiver. And our guy, Level 2 Noob, who I love, says none of those receivers are going to be there at 29. I mean, could there really be 7?
I do think Mechie will be there at 29.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way in the first 28 picks, 7 wide receivers are going to come off the board. Like that just, it seems like even in a deep receiver draft, really? You think 7 could come off the board in 28 picks?
Look, the league is going towards offensive firepower and offensive stars. And last year you saw Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and Devonta Smith be taken within the first 11 picks. People want weapons for their quarterbacks. They saw what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase did. They're seeing people like Matthew Stafford working with Cooper Kupp. You want elite pass catchers to work with your quarterback, gain yards, and put up points onto the board. And that's going to allow offensive linemen, edge rushers, and other really, really good players who are not necessarily wide receivers to come down deeper. And I do think the league is shifting where they're going to those skill positions like quarterback and receiver and defensive back and defensive line early, because they want those blue chip premier players.
That's good stuff here. Hussam Patel is with us. Dolphins ATB, 5 Reasons Sports Network. Go ahead and plug some of your content. Like the tweets that we're flashing up here, those were through Fin Maniacs. I see you've also been, of course, busy writing for 5 Reasons. I just joined you on Dolphins ATB, so let people know where they can find all that stuff.
Of course, you can find basically all that stuff at my Twitter account. Oh, I did it on the first try, Alex. You saw that?
I can't see. I do this every day, and when it's below me, I can do it. Yeah, it's people don't understand. Like you think you're pointing one way, and it goes the opposite way. You think it's going.
Of course, you can find all my work on my Twitter account at Hussam Patel.
So I got to get you one more thing out of you before we let you run, because you know what? Why don't we just put the cherry on top of everything we just talked about? Cap for Life says, Hussam, he called you Hussam, but it's Hussam. I think it's probably an autocorrect thing. Hussam and Donno, what do we do at 29? Your thoughts. So, and listen, I'm sure you're already doing mocks. You have turned all my beliefs upside down because I would have said Jahan Dotson is the guy that I want at 29. But who do you want at realistic potential option at 29th overall? Who do you take?
You want realistic
Yeah.
potential options and what I've heard?
Yeah.
Okay,
Both. Yeah,
so
both is good. Yeah.
potentially you want a wide receiver like a Jameson Williams, John Mechie. You can potentially go running back if the Dolphins valued running back how Mike McDaniel does. I like an Isaiah Spiller, Kenneth Walker. If you go offensive line, you don't get one of those tackles that you want in free agency. If a guy like Kenyon Green is available, you take him. All right. If Tyler Linderbaum, a center, is there,
It's a good one.
take him. Right? You run up to the stage, you take him. You want somebody on defense? Go ahead, get Devin Lloyd or Nakobe Dean as one of your linebackers. Now, from what I've heard, that the Dolphins are liking a certain edge rusher from that American Athletic Conference. And it could be tied if the Dolphins don't re-sign Emmanuel Ogbah. So there is a potential the Dolphins do go edge at 29. And I can't blame them. It is a very, very deep edge class.
I always get scared, and I think Jalen Phillips is a good player, but I still get scared when Chris Grier is drafting edge rushers. I get PTSD.
And if it is the name who I've been told, I am a little bit skeptical, but
who is it?
I'm not going to name drop it right now.
Because you don't remember it.
I do remember it, but it's not
do?
somebody that people know. It's not somebody that people know. But I'll let you know a little bit later, or maybe I'll drop it on a column at 5 Recent Sports.
Oh, see, you're doing this thing again. We're like, I got you on the show. You know something. The world wants to know it, and you're teasing. You're writing. Nobody reads anymore. Nobody reads anymore. Half of America's illiterate. I made up that stat completely, but nobody reads anymore. They listen, they watch. Give me a name, damn it.
Okay, what are you going to give me if I give you a name?
What do you want? I have no idea what I would give you.
I don't know what I want. I really don't know what I want.
Well, how about this? I mean, listen, I get up. You're in the Orlando area. I get up there sometimes. I'll buy you a beer. I'll buy you a lunch or something.
I don't drink beer, but whatever.
Okay, well, I'll buy myself a beer. You can watch me drink.
So from what I've heard, it's a Houston edge rusher, Logan Hall.
Oh, okay.
It's a name not a lot of people have heard, but preliminary sourcing reports have said that. I'm not saying they're actually going to take him, but they like him at the 29th pick.
So I think Tony 2 times wants me to give you a Satoshi. Like I'm not that. That's a lot of zeros there, bro. Is that a sat? I'm going to give you 0.00000. I mean, listen, Bitcoin's down a little bit, but still, like that's probably like $10, like what he put in there. So that's not that bad.
No idea.
Oh man, well, Hussam, it's always a pleasure talking to you, my friend, and thank you for having me on ATB today. I hope I did a decent job. You did a great job here, man. We'll talk to you again next week.
Of course. Thanks for having me on, Alex. And I like the shirt you put on, man. Nice, collared, very professional.
Yeah, I wanted to do something nice for the people that actually, people actually. They go out of their way to look at me for like an hour, sometimes longer. Like I want to give them something decent to look at, right? I mean, I wouldn't blame people if they like.
Brooklyn Rob is saying, Donno is the type of guy I would give Gabagool to. Keep it moving. How McAfee does it on his show. Keep it moving.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
Of course. Thanks, Donno.
I love it. Hussam always brings the goods. And I got it out of him. I got the name Logan Hall. I already forgot that. I think that was the name he gave me. Logan Hall, edge rusher from Houston. It took some convincing. I think I owe him like 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin for that answer, but we got it out of him. Guys, we're going to throw some shout outs. We have a couple more things I want to talk about, but I want to remind you that this show is not possible without our awesome sponsors. This is the weekend. 'Tis the weekend to get out to the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. UFC 272. You got Mr. 305, Jorge Masvidal, taking on Colby Covington. And by the way, Colby Covington actually trains in the 305. Masvidal trains in the 954. Just throwing that out there. They're fighting this weekend. Former best buddies, former roommates, but they hate each other now like poison. UFC 272, the big grudge match this Saturday. You can watch it for no cover charge. You pay nothing at the door at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. So seriously, if you're looking for a place to watch UFC 272 this weekend, you can't find a better spot than the Quarterdeck. And while you're watching the fights, knock down that 2-for-1 happy hour. 2-for-1 drinks all day, every day. And the beer is always ice cold. The seafood is so fresh. The burgers and sandwiches are delicious. The key lime cheesecake is awesome. That's a great dessert. Make sure you don't skip the appetizer because, guys, the buffalo shrimp at the Quarterdeck, get them spicy. They're so good. It's my favorite buffalo shrimp. The chicken wings are awesome as well at the Quarterdeck. And it's not just the UFC fights. Any big game you want to watch, Heat game, Panthers game, international soccer, check it out at the Quarterdeck. If you want to find the location nearest to you or peep their menu before you get out there, visit them on the web at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. My friends, and you know at UFC 272, I'm going to be placing wagers on virtually every fight. BetUS.com. That is your one-stop shop. Full-service sports book. They are America's favorite sports book, and they are called that because their customer service is fantastic. It's so easy to use. Guys, I have been preaching the BetUS gospel going back to, I was actually using BetUS for probably about a year and a half by now. They came aboard with me back in July on this show. And I have made many successful converts who love BetUS. First thing that's great about BetUS, well, it's available in Florida. You don't have to worry about that. There are some other sports books that have come and gone, can't use them in Florida. BetUS is fully available in the state of Florida, and we have the best bonus in the industry. When you sign up today at betus.com, make sure you use our code. You see it there on the screen, 5RSN125. Write it down if you don't think you can remember it. 5RSN125. When you type that in, when you make your first deposit, they're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus. How good is that? You deposit, for example, $100. They're going to give you $125 in free play money on top of your deposit. You may be able to get through your first weekend betting just on the free play money. It's so good. Full-service sportsbook, including live betting on everything. NHL, NBA, international soccer, UFC, boxing, horse racing. They even have a full casino right there on the website. You can play blackjack for real money. You can play slot games and table games for real money. Find out why they're the 3-decade leader. Sign up today with our code 5RSN125 at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. betus.com. All right, so hold on. I want to share one thing today that made me very, very happy. This is probably the best thing that I've seen all day. Now that it is official. See that? How beautiful is that? How beautiful. JT, 99. Number 99, Jason Taylor has hold on, that's just the picture. Hold on, I want to pull up the full tweet here. From Canes Access. NFL Hall of Famer and Dolphins legend Jason Taylor is joining the Miami Hurricanes football program in an off-field role. I'll explain what that might mean in a second. This is reported by our friend from Inside the U, Gabby Urrutia of 24/7 Canes. Jason Taylor had been DC for Powerhouse High School St. Thomas Aquinas prior to this move. So what off-field role means is he's probably either going to be titled as an analyst or a consultant. I think he's not going to be like on the sidelines during games, but I think he's going to be able to do some hands-on work with Miami's defensive linemen and DNs. I think this is tremendous. And what's been happening down here with our South Florida football teams, to see Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain coaching on the Dolphins, to see Jason Taylor, who is a legendary Dolphin, now working on the Hurricane staff, and JT, we know he loved it, and it's why, he's been a coach. He's been the DC at St. Thomas Aquinas. He's got a passion for teaching. He's got that passion for teaching. He's always looking to work with defensive ends and mentor and try to teach some of the things. And a lot of what he did, of course, natural God-given ability, but still, this guy came from Akron. He wasn't that highly touted until he got in the league and started kicking ass. So much of what Jason Taylor accomplished was based on hard work. And if he can pass along some of those habits and some of that understanding to others, I think this is fantastic. Something that it's a little bit complicated because I know people look at this and say, oh, he's been at St. Thomas Aquinas, so he's going to be able to now just recruit all of the St. Thomas Aquinas players, because Miami hasn't gotten a whole lot of St. Thomas players in recent years. Technically, he's not allowed to do that. Like, he's not allowed to make those recruiting visits to St. Thomas. Now, it's not that Miami isn't allowed to recruit St. Thomas. Jason Taylor just can't do it personally, is what I understand, is the way that NCAA rule works. So it's not as if they just brought in JT to like, oh, JT, you're just going to hang out in St. Thomas and recruit all these players. That's not why. But maybe his presence on the staff is going to help increase the pipeline to St. Thomas Aquinas, and certainly everything he's allowed to do in terms of defensive scheming, teaching, one-on-one work with Miami's defensive linemen. I think this is tremendous. And you look at this. I love this this tweet here from Los Herb Street. Imagine being a rival and looking at this list of Miami staff and convincing yourself to say it's mid. Now, a lot of idiot Florida State fans and Gators fans. And I'm not saying you're all idiots, right? I know that there are some really cool Florida State fans and even Gators fans who watch this show and comment. I'm not necessarily calling you out personally. There are idiots in every fan base. There are idiot Miami fans. There are certainly idiot Florida State fans and Florida fans. But I see a lot of the idiot variety at rival schools actually trying to convince themselves and others that Miami staff is not good. It's mid, in his words. But imagine looking at this group: Mario Cristobal, Ed Reed, Jason Taylor, Josh Gaddis, Kevin Steele, Joe Salavea, Kevin Smith, Jamil Adai, who I think is a real diamond in the rough. I think he's going to be great. Alex Mirabal, proven offensive line coach. Charlie Strong, coach of the linebackers. Dennis Smith, Donovan Varner, Stephen Feld, the strength coach. Ed Pata, Roland Smith. I mean, it's a who's who. It's unbelievable. This is the sort of staff I never thought I'd see a staff like this at the University of Miami. I never thought I'd see it. That's the type of staff you would expect to see at a Georgia or an Alabama, maybe an Ohio State. Like, you would never expect to see a coaching staff like that at the University of Miami. I think it's absolutely tremendous. All right, so I'm going to throw out some shout outs before we wrap up this episode. Now, I'm not wrapping up for the day. I'm going to be wrapping up this show in a matter of minutes. But guys, the fun's only getting started. It's Thursday. Thursday night is coming up. We have UFC 272 coming up this weekend. If you guys haven't checked it out, every Thursday at 6 p.m., I do a combat sports show on this channel here on 5 Reasons YouTube. My co-hosts Frank Zaffrey and James Walker are tremendous. Thursdays from 6 to about 7:30. We usually go anywhere between 60 and 90 minutes. We talk MMA and boxing. Going to be heavy MMA on this episode because we're previewing UFC 272. We are previewing Colby Covington against Jorge Masvidal. And we're also going to be talking about, have you been keeping up with this Cain Velasquez story? The former UFC heavyweight champion. I've met Cain before. Always seemed like, and probably still is, a really nice guy. Cain Velasquez, earlier this week, was arrested and charged with attempted murder, among other things. But as we've seen the details trickling in, the reason why Velasquez shot at and attempted to kill another human being is that human being he was trying to, I use the word human being loosely here with this one, the individual that he tried to kill has been arrested for molesting a family member of Velasquez, a 4-year-old in his family. So at a human level, what would you do? Honestly, like you're talking about attempting to kill a human being, and then you find out that person he attempted to murder had been allegedly molesting a 4-year-old relative of Cain Velasquez, because it was the daycare that this child was going to. It's even any parent in here, even if you're not a parent, it's horrific even thinking about this. For the last 2 years, this child has been going to the home daycare run by the mother of this alleged filthy, disgusting predator. and this predator had been molesting that child reportedly 100 plus times, and then Cain Velasquez attempted to shoot and kill that person, I can't blame him. I cannot blame him for trying to do that. Now, one of the problems here is when he was attempting to kill this person, he was shooting into a car, and he did not successfully shoot this person. There was actually a bullet that went into the arm of this person's stepfather. So I'm not saying that what Velasquez did here is right. I'm saying I understand it. I understand the emotion, and I think if any of us put ourselves in his shoes, I don't know exactly what the relationship was between Cain and this child. It was a relative. I don't know. I don't know exactly where in the family tree that person was, but we can all relate, man. You can all relate on wanting to put an end to this person. Extremely reckless and irresponsible the way he went about it. And somebody else was shot, not killed, but injured in this situation. So I'm not saying this was perfect. I'm not saying that vigilante justice is the right thing to do. I'm saying I understand it. And let me add this into the equation, okay? Velasquez has been charged with a number of different crimes here, including attempted murder. He could be sentenced to anywhere between 20 years to life for this. Now, I'll tell you what would be really messed up about our justice system. If Cain Velasquez ends up serving a life sentence, but this other person who allegedly molested a child more than 100 times ends up with a lesser sentence than him, that's not right. I'm sorry. And this is just me playing out a hypothetical. Nobody has been sentenced yet. But if we're talking about potentially 20 years to life for Cain Velasquez, who was trying to avenge the innocence of a child, versus the person who actually carried out that heinous crime against that child, if the person who tried to kill him in retaliation gets a longer sentence than the person who did that in the first place, that's not an America I want to live in. I'm just putting it out there, okay? Neither of these people have been sentenced yet, but if it does play out that way, that's really messed up, okay? Man, I hate to end the show on such a downer note. I know. Okay, yeah, I think I'd kind of gathered this. It wasn't mentioned specifically in the reports, but yeah, I think you may be right about that, Chris. Yeah, so I can completely understand. I mean, if something like that happened to a child in any of our lives, we would want to do the exact same thing that he tried to do. We would want to do that. What's going on? TH, I think that's my guy, Trevor. Hello, Trevor. All right, let's throw some shout outs and we'll wrap up this episode. I don't want to bring too many other downers on this note, but I had to say that listen, I'm not saying what Cain Velasquez did was right. I'm saying I understand it. And I'm saying that if he gets a longer sentence than the person who did that to a child, then it's completely backwards, completely ass backwards. So thank you so much, Jason, for tuning in. Thank you so much to our guy, Doug E. Fresh. Says if Cain was attempting to neutralize a direct or imminent threat, then he could get a break. I hope so. If he was seeking vengeance for something that happened in the past, then he will do time. Yeah, that's going to be determined in the trial. Well, I do know that. Okay, so the person he attempted to shoot had actually been, I think, released on bail, which is like you shouldn't even be putting that person back into the human population. Like keep that person in a cell like an animal. So yeah, maybe he thought that this person even being out there as, a free man pending trial was a danger to society. So I can totally get that. Nicole, thank you so much for tuning in. Chris at the Fins Tailgate, thank you so much for watching today. And yeah, okay, he says, I agree, but even if they give the slime ball a lightened sentence, they're going to put him in general population and he won't last. Yeah, I've always heard this, and we've all heard it, that like in prison, when the other inmates know that there's a sick person in there, that was arrested for what that person allegedly did, they do not treat you well, nor do you deserve to be treated well if you're that sort of an offender. Color, thank you so much for tuning in. Samuel, thank you so much for tuning in. Throw as many shout outs as I can here. Today was nice and busy on the chat. I love it. That is a downer, Dono, in a room full of negative Nancy's. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, it's as a fight fan and as someone who I'm a fan of Cain Velasquez, so I thought that this story has been just a crazy, crazy saga. Vivian, thank you so much. And yeah, I tend to agree. He should get no years. That's bull. Yeah, I mean, when you find out what his motive was, you're like, yeah, you know what? That's that if anything, that sort of behavior is completely understandable. Completely understandable. Tony, 2 times, thank you so much. I know there's laws in this country, but we have like 10 Batman movies and a ton of animated movies and cartoons of the Batman, yet they get mad at Kane for vigilantism. Yeah, I mean, listen, there have been some good vigilantes, no question about it. Jason, thank you so much for tuning in. Cap for life, thank you so much. JP, we appreciate you popping in today. IMAX, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for popping in and watching today. Woo back. To a time. F these haters. I said it. This is one of those shows where I'm not a very good multitasker. So when I'm talking and when I'm doing the show, I can only keep tabs on the chat so closely. I'm gonna have to go back in the chat because I've seen a couple, like Q was talking about like the negativity on Tua. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this episode and read the live chat because I haven't been able to pick up on everything. If this turned into a great Tua debate. But listen, I thought we got some closure yesterday. I think it's a good thing that finally Chris Grier came out and he shut the door. He said it. I'm shutting the door on Deshaun. So there you have it. This is Tua's team. And I didn't really have any doubt of that anyway. But we have it now from the horse's mouth that this is Tua's team, at least for the next year. All right, let's see who else is in here. Want to make sure we don't do too many duplicate shout outs. We try and shout out everybody. We're going to miss some people, especially on a day like today. The chat seems super busy here. My guy, I was hoping we could officially welcome Manny Chang back today, but he got stuck in a meeting today, he said. Level 2 Noob, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. I see Noob in here very often. And yeah, if you guys you're available, the live chat is open every day. I think I want to say we're going to be back at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day. I'm going to be co-hosting the Joe Rose show tomorrow from 6 to 10 with Joe. I love working with Joe Rose. Zach Krantz is going to be off. I'm going to fill in for him tomorrow. So I'm going to be up very early, but yeah, I'm going to do, I think, a 2 p.m. show tomorrow. So that's going to be a good one. Brooklyn Rob, thank you so much. Man, that was crazy. So I bet on Fiorentina against Juventus yesterday, and it was Fiorentina were a half goal underdog. And so my logic was, I think they can at least get a draw. And they outplayed Juventus. It was 0-0. So they were going to get the draw. They were going to cover. Juventus score a ridiculous, it was an own goal in the 94th minute. That's a bad beat. That's a mush. That's how you know the mush is real. And no, I didn't mush the Heat last night. I didn't bet on the Heat game. So I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with that disastrous final 5 minutes in the Heat game. Unless you blame me for other things in life, but no, I didn't bet on them yesterday. Gianmarco, thank you so much. And I think Gianmarco left us a super chat today as well. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. Let's see, a couple more. Shake Money wants to make that Calvin Ridley trade. I would like that. I would not be opposed to that whatsoever. And if you do that, then you can fill other needs in the draft. You don't have to address wide receiver first or second round. You can shore up offensive line, linebacker, or running back first. That could open up something for you. Chalk Van Straw, thank you so much for tuning in. Kent, we appreciate it. He says Tua is good enough to win us games if he stays healthy. Ryan Tannehill proved you don't need to be an elite quarterback to make it deep into the playoffs. I mean, yeah, that's an example. I mean, I prefer the Jimmy Garoppolo example just because Jimmy Garoppolo got closer to actually – two reasons why I prefer the Jimmy Garoppolo example. Jimmy Garoppolo got closer than Tannehill got, and also Jimmy played in the same offense that we're about to play. So I guess both of those apply, except I would say the reason why the Titans didn't get further than they did last year was because Tannehill sabotage the end of that game against Cincinnati because they would have won if he hadn't thrown all those interceptions. But yeah, you can use that example as well, that they can go farther than the Dolphins have with the same quarterback that the Dolphins used to have. Jason, thank you so much. Oh, I think I may have shouted out Jason twice. Nothing wrong with that. Jason seems like a good person. Let's see. Anybody else I may have missed? Oh, I think I already shouted out Samuel as well. All right, I may close it out there. I feel like if I scroll way up. Oh, Martina, thank you so much for tuning in. PGA Tour. I'm glad I saw this one. That is the best YouTube name. PGA Tour Tua. Don't let Nick Hicks and Perform see that name. They're going to be very offended. They hate it when people make golf jokes about Tua. That is so good. Jim, thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, PGA Tour Tua. I get such a kick out of that. Here he is again. He was all over the early part of the chat. Oh, so I guess he was part of the whole Watson conversation. Shad, thank you so much. Shake Money, thank you. Hussam, who also joined us today, was partaking in the chat. He got the full experience. He was in the live chat. He was on the show. I love it. And I don't know. That might be about it. I don't know if there's anybody else in here. Oh, hold on. We do have more people in here. Brian. Because dude going to be in a small cell for. Oh, I think this was before the Velasquez thing. I think he's talking about Deshaun Watson. It's not impossible. I mean, the criminal complaints are still out there. We're still waiting on the grand jury. It's not impossible that he ends up in prison. Andres thinks that what Chris Grier said is all BS. Only time will tell. If he's lying, we're going to find out eventually. Oh, Lewis Cornell. Hello from Scotland. Hello to Scotland. Thank you so much for watching across the pond. I'm glad I kept scrolling up. There was a ton of other people that I hadn't mentioned. Indeed, thank you so much for tuning in. VLKV. Yeah, last night talking about the Heat game was absolutely brutal. And I think that's about it. If I missed anybody, didn't do it on purpose, I apologize. And again, make sure you check out our sponsors, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill, quarterdeckrestaurants.com, betus.com. Use our code 5RSN125 for 125% sign-up bonus. And for those who are into daily fantasy, Prize Picks is awesome. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified. Sign up with our code 5, F-I-V-E, and they're going to match your first deposit 100% up to $100. Combines my love for parlays and daily fantasy. Select 2, 3, or 4 players, predict if they're going to go over or under their fantasy projections, and win real cash. It's a lot of fun, man. If you haven't tried Prize Picks, I am telling you, you are going to enjoy it. F-I-V-E is our code. All right, we will talk to you guys again. Hold on, I'm trying to make this Prize Picks banner. Here it is. All right, here's my lovely face again. We will talk to you guys again next time, tomorrow, probably at 2 p.m. Oh, by the way, I'm excited for tomorrow. Among other things, we're going to have a little bit of an Inter Miami conversation tomorrow. I am bringing on, I love this dude. He's actually Alex Solana's brother. You guys know Solana from the Hawk and Crowder show. His brother, Daniel Solana, excellent follow on Twitter. I love reading his tweets during Inter Miami games because he's super critical and like super insightful, but like kind of negative, but also kind of truthful. He's going to join us to talk some soccer, to talk some Inter Miami tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll talk some Heat, some Dolphins, maybe some Canes tomorrow as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We will talk to you guys then on another episode of Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. See ya.